Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 64. This is Thomas Mooney, and you're listening to New Slang. This episode right here, I am joined by an old friend, Mr. Ben Hussey, currently of American Aquarium, and formerly of, just basically like every band in Texas or Oklahoma this past decade. Before we get started, I'll add that this is kind of an old interview, old conversation. It's from, I guess, the last time American Aquarium was in town, which was probably 5 months ago or so. Speaking of which, they'll be back in Lubbock December 8th at the Blue Light. That is a Saturday show. Jamie Lynn Wilson will be opening, which, two things. If you haven't listened to her new record, Jumping Over Rocks, go get it today. Go do it right now. I give you permission to pause this podcast, go listen to the record, go buy it, and then come back over here and listen to this. And two, Jamie has been on the podcast before. It's episode number 36. Go back and listen to that one as well. That was a very, very enjoyable conversation with Jamie. So yeah, Saturday, December 8th, American Aquarium, Jamie Lynn Wilson, Blue Light. Maybe we'll get an interview done then too. Speaking of old episodes, I know you guys are probably like on your way to Thanksgiving, home, all that kind of stuff. BJ of American Aquarium, he's been on a couple times. Episode 43, episode number 7 with William Clark Green, actually. That was obviously, if it's number 7, it's one of the first ones we did. So like I said, you're on your way home probably to Thanksgiving dinner, or maybe you're listening on the way back. If you're wanting to go listen to some other recent New Slang episodes, we have a few of them out. John Bauman, that was just a straight up basketball podcast. Go listen to that. Mike Harmeyer of Mike and the Moon Pies and Adam Oder was an episode. Wade Bowen, and then there was a special episode with the Blue Light Singer-Songwriter Finals, and then the most recent one, Brandon Adams and Ross Cooper, which came out last week. So yeah, anyways, Ben Hussey is on this episode. He's been a friend for a good long while. We became friends back in the 6 Market Boulevard days when they were playing here in Lubbock all the time. We'd end up sitting on the back porch of the Castles and just talking about music and drinking beer and smoking way too many cigarettes and watching the sun come up, and just really probably bad decisions. Shout out to the Castle Brothers, some of my good friends. And I think we ended up talking some about those days on this episode with Ben. Again, if you don't follow me on social media, go do so. _newslang on Twitter. My email is newslang.editors@gmail.com. You can reach out with comments, questions, etc., etc. And yeah, I say it every week, but it's pretty simple. Give the New Slang Podcast a 5-star rating on iTunes. Write a review, share with your friends, family, coworkers, I don't know, people you go to school with, whatever. Okay, so enough of that. Here is Ben Hussey of American Aquarium.
But I wanted to really give them a chance this time because of people like BJ and Brandon telling me to do that. And when Ben got up there and it was just him and the other guy, I was just fucking floored, man. Like, because it just took everything away, and just listening to his songs, I was like, man, okay, now I get it. That's really fucking good.
Yeah. Have you listened to any of the stuff on the new record that's been singled out?
No.
You'll probably like it because it's like...
Here I'm talking about trying new things, and I haven't done that yet.
You'll probably like it a whole lot because it's... there's a lot more acoustic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, I talked with him the other day.
Oh, really?
An interview, yeah. Which the first 30 seconds or so, I did not. There was a bit of me that was I I had a little bit of skepticism that it was Ben Nichols on the phone. I was like, this isn't. No. And then like, cause he was a lot more quiet than he was usually is.
Had you interviewed him before?
No.
Oh, okay.
But like it was a good interview. I had a good conversation, I guess. It's strange on those guys where, and you know, we talked a little bit about this. By the way, we already just started.
I kind of figured.
Those guys are so freaking like, they know how to do interviews on their side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't like he was giving me the typical answer kind of
right.
deal, but like everything was set up in the. Well, you know, like that song right there was influenced by my brother's movie, Jeff Nichols. He's a film.
Yeah.
And like he'll give out all the parentheses, if you will. Of like, my brother, Jeff Nichols, he's a director. He directed.
Which I didn't know that until
and stuff like that. Yeah.
On this tour, we had Corey Brandon with us at the beginning, and they're all Memphis guys, and so he was talking about Jeff a lot. I think he's done some work with him for movies or whatever. But I brought all that up when we were talking about the Hold Steady, because when I was listening to them the other day, I started thinking, you know, this is kind of like a northern drive-by truckers sort of thing, but I feel like it's better executed. I felt like it was a little more thought out than what the truckers are, and I think that's kind of a parallel between like northern people and southern people, you know? Right. It's just like, hey, let's crank it up and make it thick, and they're like, let's make it thick with a point.
Yeah, they're from like Minnesota, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thought so. That's interesting. Do you think it's also maybe because there's like just one voice as far as lyricism goes?
Yeah.
So like Craig's a little bit more tapped into what he's.
Yeah.
Versus like
so it can be more of a central thought process, like a CPU, if you will, and like everything's just building off of that, as opposed to trying to build off 2 to 3 separate processing units. Yeah. Not to dehumanize what they do, but
right. Yeah. But like that's something that you were kind of talking about with BJ, was like, you know, him doing all these interviews all the time, just like a machine.
Yeah. But he can also, like, he's really good, and I can't remember if we talked about this or not, but like personalizing them too. You know, and like I said, I do remember telling you, like, if one of us was sitting around, he'd find a way to like throw us under the bus somehow. Right. You know, figuratively, of course.
Yeah. It's interesting to see those guys in that, because it's, to me, you can tell, like on my side, you can tell it whenever somebody's been doing like 5 interviews that day.
Yeah.
Like you can you just tell like that.
Well, it just feels so automatic. The answers and the just their response time alone, you can tell, I would think. Right.
And especially like especially if they're like, you have 15 minutes or 30 minutes, you're like, oh, okay, yeah. And it's at 8:15. Okay, I know what's going on here, right. You know. But then I've always loved trying to break that down like that. Let's get out of that process, you know what I mean? But
which can be hard to do for someone if they're on their 5th interview of the day.
Right, no.
Because then they're so used to just going through the motions at that point.
And see, like, it's always better to get like that early in the day.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And I've done...
People are a lot more honest when they just wake up, too.
Yeah.
You know, their brain doesn't have time to filter anything yet.
There's been a few that I've done with... I think like the first one I did with Ryan Bingham was like at 10 in the morning. Yeah. And I was like, I was kind of like, I don't want to fucking do it at 10. But then after doing it and realizing the process, it was like, oh, okay, that was probably way better to get him like first or second than.
I remember when you got that interview.
Yeah.
When was that?
See, like now that's like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I remember talking to you about that. I think you were kind of nervous.
Yeah, I was. I mean, like, those are. I always say, like, well, people will ask me, like, what's been your favorite interview kind of thing? And I'm like, I think with time you get away from being, like, nervous, I guess, with them. You know? But there is, what I've said is, like, there's that first, like, the 5 minutes before it happens.
Right.
Is still like this nervous energy of like, oh shit.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just like the shows, just like everything. When you're putting yourself out there and trying to communicate with people on more than just like a first level of communication, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's also just all the, oh, did they give me the right number? Or did they accidentally type a 4 instead of a 3, that kind of shit. But I don't know. I digress.
We were talking about that, like just levels of comfortability, BJ and I were last night with Dalton, and like watching him on these past few opening shows that he's done, like just him and a guitar, and he's out there, he's just fucking killing it, man. And it's like, it's not the Dalton from 6 years ago. It's not the Dalton from 2 years ago,
Right.
That wasn't him. All right. Just make sure that wasn't him that just walked in. I don't want to hear him saying that.
Let's stop for a second here. Did you need to use my phone? No, this is just like a podcast. It's kind of like radio, but we'll just record it and then it goes out like iTunes. Is this the artist here? Yeah. He's
Hey.
Ben Hussey. I'm Stanley Johnson.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
I'm a musician too.
That's what I heard. I heard you play saxophone.
Yes, sir. I do one man show. I record, sing.
Oh, cool.
Do it all.
That's great.
Hope we get together sometime.
Sure.
You got business going?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But we're playing at the Cactus next door tonight
Okay.
at 8:30, I think. Oh, we were in Dallas last night.
I'm over the road.
Nice, nice.
All right, then, man.
Take it easy.
Yeah, just go ahead and use it. But, dude, Dalton has gotten, like, a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
We talked about this last time he played here was, like, 3 weeks ago or so.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 weeks ago. And it was full band, and what I told him was, like, you're finally getting comfortable enough to just the entire damn set is your songs.
Right.
And you're not, like,
One night.
doing a bunch of covers, which, it's a good thing. Like, you're getting into that zone of being comfortable enough to do your own songs.
One night, back when I was playing with Statesboro Review, we had a show in Arlington. We had an early show in Arlington, and then the next day we were playing in, like, New Braunfels or something. Well, Will and them were playing somewhere in between, like, Salado or something like that. So I left Arlington that night. I was having to drive myself, so I just went down and tried to catch their set, but I missed it. So I just caught up with them at a bar afterwards. We're taking shots and shit, and Dalton had opened up the show. Well, we go back to the hotel, and me and Serato go out. I guess I was still smoking cigarettes at this time because we went out to smoke a cigarette with Dalton, and he's sitting on the curb, and Josh just looks at him and goes, "Dalton, you got to stop doing so many covers, man." And I just went, Jesus fucking Christ, I'm glad somebody finally said it. And Dalton is just sitting there, because this was, 5-6 years ago or whatever, and Dalton just, like, got all, like, big-eyed and was like, well, what am I supposed to do? And we're like, write more fucking songs, man. You're a great writer. Just do that. But he had, like, covered a Will song in his opening set for Will that night, and we're like, you can't do that shit. That's against the rules.
Right. It's this, I mean, like, there's this aspect of him wanting to do, like, an homage to people, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Like he's covering people who he's looking up to.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, thank God you're getting comfortable enough to start doing those songs.
Yeah.
And like that the other night when they were up here, they like every song except for they did on the encore was a Killers song, but everything else I believe was like original content.
And that's great, and it's all good stuff, man. These new songs have been. Well, I was a big fan of that, of Corners. I thought that was a great record, and I think it like, I don't think it landed well here, like in the Texas. And I told him like, this album like, is bigger than what's happening here, and you need to try to shop it out on more of a national level. And he's kind of lazy, but. Actually, I told him, I remember the first day I was running sound at City Limits for a while when I wasn't touring there in Stephenville, and he was playing at Boss Sox that night, but half of his band was playing with Davis Allen. When he was still living in Stephenville, they were opening up that night, and then I think they were going to Boss Sox to headline with Dalton, or they were, I don't know, it was something like that. And Dalton came over to City, and he was like, "Hey, dude, come out and listen to these roughs for this new record." It was like the first half. They just got done with the first half of tracking, and I listened to it with him, and I said, "Well, shit, man, I can actually listen to this one. This is some good stuff." And he goes, "Thanks, I guess."
Well, that's the thing is like I think he's had all these different transitions from, where, like that when he first showed up, it was like he was wanting to be, like, he was wanting to be Will.
Yeah.
Or something like
Right.
Will.
But you can't really blame him.
It was like, oh, I want to be something like Whiskey Myers or something. Then it was like, and of course that's like the process
Of course,
trying to find yourself, right? And
especially when you're, in this scene, in the blue light scene, and you see guys like Will and Josh that have just done that and taken off with it.
right,
You want to follow in their footsteps as closely as you can because that's what you see succeed, and you've watched it succeed from the ground up. You
Right.
know?
and now it feels like he's finally settling into something that's his own. But like it's also, if you had told him this is what you're going to sound like 5 years ago, he would have said, "Hell no, that's not anything."
Right,
what I'm
that's
gonna
not
sound
me.
like." And it's closer to more of a singer-songwriter, like the I will say like the not top 40 Jack Ingram kind
Right.
of stuff.
And that's what's been so great about watching him with just him and his guitar these past couple nights in front of like 300, 400. Last night was 600 people. And he's commanding that crowd in half an hour. And it's really cool to see that growth. We were working on a song earlier today. It was something that I'd started a long time ago. And like when I was writing it, I was thinking, man, Dalton needs to help me with this. I think together we can come up with something pretty cool. And it was kind of like, it started as like a man's descent into insanity or descent. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And it was like, it's really dark and suicidal. And we're riding on it, and he goes, "God, if we keep going this direction, people are going to be like, dude, the Jesus and handbags guy and the Santa Fe train guy are really fucked up."
Yeah,
But that Santa Fe train song was a death song.
right.
I think a lot of people miss that because it was happy sounding and there was a good sing along chorus, but the main character died in that song.
Yeah. That's the thing too, is like Jesus and handbags. Well, I remember when he first put that out, I was like, I don't like that song. And I was just one of those, you're gonna have to sing that for the rest of your life now.
You're stuck.
That's I guess there's I don't know if there's much worse. I guess that like that plight of like singing your big hit, right? There's not many worse. Like Ray Wiley always
exactly.
talks about Up Against the Wall.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he would much rather sing Up Against the Wall, Redneck Mother than Jesus. But I digress.
I always remember, this will probably be the last story about Dalton. I just remember the first time that we like actually met, or it's not the first time we met, it's the first time I remember meeting him. It was here at a Six Market show, and we were in the hallway, and he was like, "Hey, great show, man." I said, "Thanks, dude. I'm Ben." He goes, "Ben, it's me, Dalton. We've met like 6 times." And I remembered him after that one.
The first time I met Dalton was he had messaged me on Facebook saying that he was wanting to start a podcast.
God.
And that he was like going to be interviewing Dirty River Boys that night and wanted to see if I wanted to meet him. And I was like, okay, sure.
So he had his first interview planned.
Yeah.
But didn't have anything else?
It was here at Blue Light, and he was like, yeah, I'm doing a podcast with him. We're like, oh, where? And he's like, oh, we're doing it like out back by the van, like before the show. And I'm assuming like he never put it out, and it never like it was just on his cell phone or something like that. And he just talked with him for about 20 minutes or something. I don't know.
Right.
But the next time I saw him, It was like he was playing Monday night every damn Monday night. So, and he had never mentioned he was wanting to be a songwriter or nothing like that.
Yeah.
He was just wanting to do like a podcast. And I was like, okay, sure. And then of course that kind of just dropped. And
Yeah.
but
Well, you know, he probably wasn't very good at it anyways.
right.
Somebody was asking me about how I, you know him. So like somebody that he had rubbed the wrong way was like, why are you guys so like, why are you always defending him and shit? And like when he was living in Stephenville, you know, he was living in Melody Mountain Ranch and studios there. So we were seeing each other a lot, and he was sober and I had just gotten sober, and we became really close through all that. And that friendship turned into me like just respecting him more as a person, which led to me respecting him more as an artist. And that, like, I'll fight for him, well,
Right.
until he rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah. I think like he's definitely had some growing pains.
Yeah. Well, you know, you keep shooting yourself in the foot, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned sobriety. You mentioned quit smoking cigarettes. Jogging.
Yeah, I quit smoking cigarettes when the kids were born because I didn't want to, I kept thinking about it, and it wasn't really like I want to try to live longer thing. It was like, I don't want to miss 5 minutes of their life to go smoke a cigarette. And now I'm missing months of their lives. But and when I did that, I started eating candy a lot. And so, like, every time I wanted to smoke a cigarette, I would go to the pantry and eat some M&Ms. And, you know, I used to smoke American Spirits. It'd take, like, 8 minutes to smoke. So I would sit there and eat M&Ms for 8 minutes. And I gained, like, 20 pounds of M&Ms. And I was like, man, this shit isn't going to work either. So over the years, I've been trying to figure out ways to not do that. And when we went on this first tour, when I joined Aquarium, that was my first time back on the road since I quit drinking. And I'd forgotten that after shows, you have all this energy. And it's either like positive energy, like that was a great show, or negative energy, like that was not a good show and I'm all upset about it. And my go-to used to be, that was a great show, let's go get drunk about it. And then that was a bad show, let's get drunk and forget about it. Right. You know, you were there for a lot of those. But without having that go-to vice anymore, I started like working out in the hotel gyms. Nothing like heavy or anything, just like half an hour of, you know, like free weights and ellipticals and shit. And then BJ was like, hey, I work with this running shoe company or running gear, athletic. I don't even know what the fuck you call it, man. This is all new territory to me. Mm-hmm. But it's Saucony or Saucony or whatever, you know, plug that.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can order y'all some stuff. So we all got running shoes. And he kind of challenged us. He was like, but if I get this for y'all have to actually go running. So they came in the last night of the previous tour we were on, like the first leg of the Things Change release tour. And when I got home, I said, well, I got these shoes now. I guess I'll start running. And so I did, and I kind of like it. And again, I don't do much. I do like a mile in the day and a mile at night, and it's a good way to kind of like start my day and think about what I have to do during the day and kind of put all that stuff in order. And then at the end of the day, erase all that stuff, you know? Right. And like bookending the day that way has become a process for me that just kind of helps me keep things organized. Because, man, when the fucking kids were born, organization went out the window for both me and my wife. And now we're finally to a point where we're starting to, you know, recover and dig ourselves out of that kind of chaotic lifestyle we were in. And a lot of that started with her getting into minimalism. Have you done any, like, do you know a lot about minimalism?
No. That's like probably the worst thing. Like that's like the exact opposite of me.
Yeah, I've seen your record collection.
I can't throw anything, like I'm not like a hoarder of stuff. Yeah. But like I'm a music hoarder.
Well, yeah.
book hoarder
I
and
think,
stuff like that. But
and the wife would disagree with me on this, but I think when it comes to art, it's a different thing. You know, keeping art is or what you like is art. I mean, don't keep every little trinket or painting or whatever, but unless it speaks to you, unless it moves you. She read a book, and I don't know what it was called, but it was like I've seen a Simpsons episode where they make fun of this, and so that's how I knew about minimalism. But you take a look at all your things and assess what brings you joy. And if you can't find a reason that something brings you joy, get rid of it, because there's no sense of having it in your life. And, you know, if the music is bringing you joy, then why would you get rid of it?
Yeah.
You know, because it's all about, I think what I've taken from this, and at first I thought it was just a phase she was going through until I got home. And the whole principle for her and for us is like declutter your surroundings, declutter your brain, and you can just focus your energies on the things that actually matter. And it's really been a game changer, man. Like we got rid of a bunch of stuff that was very hard for me to get rid of, because when I moved to Stephenville to go to school, I had to take pretty much everything I owned with me, because my mom and my sister were moving out of the house we lived in, and they were moving to a place that there just wasn't room for me or any of my stuff. So I moved into a college dorm room with pretty much everything I owned, you know? Mm-hmm. And then everything else that I owned went into this trailer on a property that my dad's company owned. And so all my stuff was spread out between Fort Worth and Stephenville. And then one night that trailer got broken into and everything got stolen. And so something flipped inside of me where I was like, I have to hold on to this stuff because it's all that I have. Right. And right about that time was when I started touring, right? So it was like I needed some sort of sense of home. And that sense of home for me was all this, it was basically just crap that I'd had since I was like 8 years old. You know, none of it was really important, right, or like the individual item wasn't sentimental, but the whole bulk of it I thought was, you know. But now that I'm 32, I look back at all that stuff and I'm like, man, this doesn't do anything for me anymore. And like now I have a home, now I have a family, I have that to go back to, so I don't need what I thought was keeping me grounded. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I know, like, I guess I have a couple of boxes of just like that kind of stuff that I could probably get rid of. But it you said, you know, it stems from your mom and sister moving. Mm-hmm. I know, like, when I moved out of high school, my parents were getting divorced.
Yeah,
so it was kind of the same situation of like. And I know, like, there for a while, I had, like, just stuff, right? Like,
it was like that who gets a family
paperwork kind of shit, right? Like,
right.
That's a whole lot of it. I feel like, for me, was just, like, paper.
As a writer, you also want to hold on to that stuff because it's something you can pull back to.
Yeah. No, nothing like that. Well, I'm talking, like, this notebook of, like, you know, geometry and... You know, like those like notebooks of like just shit like that where you're like, oh man, why do I still have this?
Dude, I found some of my college notebooks the other day. I was purging my office, and I was looking back through my college notebooks, and there's like Shafter lyrics written in all of them, and just like my lyrics and just doodles and scales. And I'm like, God, no wonder I didn't fucking graduate.
I was a really, really bad note taker in school.
It's hard.
And especially in math,
oh, yeah.
Like if you went like through any of my notes, it would be like that, and like it was. I think it was there was this one history, or no, it wasn't a history. It was like an English class, and it was just like super boring, and it should have not been boring. You know what I mean? But it was like the way it was taught and everything, and I was just like always falling asleep in class with this, and you can tell like where my notes were like, oh, he's about to fucking go. He's just trailing off right there, and you're like, done.
Dude, English classes, like, for me, and I'm sure you can attest to this, is like as a writer and as like the creative side of you, were never as fulfilling as you thought they would be, or at least they were for me. Like I enjoyed reading the literature, but you spend so much time studying other people's work, and they never really, like, unless you take a creative literature class, which the one that was offered for me was just like a semester where you just, very basic, you know?
Right.
And, you know, in the public schools, they didn't encourage any of that shit.
Yeah.
So you never really, like, learned their process or what they were doing. It was just kind of, hey, this is a metaphor, and this is why it's a metaphor. And,
Yeah. I mean, with the public school stuff, it's because they teach to pass whatever
yeah, right, right.
exam or whatever. I don't know. I guess it's not tax or toss or
No, that's
whatever
way
the fuck.
dated
Yeah,
these
I don't know what
days.
it is now, but they're
It's-
teaching to pass that kind of shit.
Right.
And so like you're not ever really learning. You're memorizing.
Yeah.
Stuff.
It scares me, man. Like I have to think about that shit now with my kids, and I'm like,
Mhm.
God, I really want them to get a better education than I had. But you know, you're talking about taking notes, and like the generations coming up have, you know, our attention spans are all getting shorter,
Right.
shorter, and shorter, and they must have a really fucking hard time taking notes.
Yeah.
And that's just like, that's got to make the teaching process extremely difficult. And then the teachers are slaves to this, you know, curriculum for the test, and it's all just such fucking harsh shit to deal with.
Yeah. It's because, and I think it all really kind of stems to that they've made education obviously a profitable
Yeah.
business.
Right.
And so like the reason why all those things are like, for example, just the small thing is the buying books in fucking for college. Like
Jesus
those books
Christ,
are
that's a racket, dude.
expensive as hell, and like every couple of years, it's like, oh, this one right here is obsolete. Like
Yeah,
it's,
right.
It's we don't need it anymore, even though it's literally the same thing as the one before, except there's like a couple of things changed, and you know, you try and sell them back, and you're like, $20.
Yeah.
I bought this for $100.
You're like, man, I was really counting on selling these things and getting more than that back.
Yeah, but I don't know. Everything gets turned into a profitable.
Dude, I was talking to
to-
somebody about it the other night, and it, like, you just mentioned obsolete. Like, for us, like, I think our generation was like the last time bachelor's degrees were acceptable. Now you have to get your master's, and I know a guy that graduated with a marketing degree in 2008, I think is what it was, 2009 maybe. And the last day of class, his professor told him, like, everything we taught you this year, like, the course changes next year, everything we taught you is now, like, obsolete information. Like, you've basically wasted 4 years of your life, because that was when all the digital stuff was really starting to take
Yeah.
over. And so, like, the old garb was getting pushed out. So that, like, if I was told that, I'd be so fucking pissed, you
Right.
know?
I'm of the belief that if you're gonna go to school, you need to like either get that fucking master's or doctorate, or just take like some basics,
Yeah.
and then go and do, because like I didn't graduate either, and at some point experience trumped.
Yeah. No,
the
you're
degree.
exactly right, man.
And that's a lot with a lot of places, but like of course, or a lot of fields, it's about experience and who you know more so than the paper, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I kind of also believe though that why I say you need to go at least for a couple of years is because it teaches you obviously like life experience.
Right.
I don't think like anyone, like at 17, 18 when I graduated high school, I was just obviously not ready for the real world.
Right.
You know?
Well, and you
And-
only know the people you know.
Right. And those classes, we were talking about how boring some of these classes are, but like a lot of times that breeds a work ethic or like, you know, some structure.
Right.
And that's what you need in those first few years. And also, that's where you build that contact list.
Yeah.
Like if anyone's going to school right now, like
Meet people.
meet people
Yeah.
and like figure out why they're doing what they're doing, and like if they're good at what they're doing,
Right.
and, like, all that stuff. Because like you can call back on those people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
That just made me think if I do that, I don't really know how many people from college I still talk to. I just don't talk to a lot of people, period, anymore, man. I mean, if we're working together, I do. But most of the time, I just kind of keep to myself. And
Yeah, but
when I'm home, I hang out with my family, you know?
right. But you do have that Rolodex of people you can
Oh, yeah, yeah.
call about, hey, I need, information on
Yeah.
this? Or what, you know?
We were talking about Brandon earlier. He's probably the most valuable contact I have just because his wealth of knowledge with music-related stuff especially is so deep that, like, I'll have clients asking me about, like, copyright stuff or co-write laws or whatever the fuck, and I'm like, man, I don't know the answer to this, but I know the guy that does. So give me an hour, and I'll call Brandon and run it. I think I'm really good at that. Like, I don't know a lot, but I know a lot of people that know a lot. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. See, that's stuff like I don't even know anything about, and Brandon does.
Dude, he's so good at it.
And
he sent me over. He wrote like a 40-page paper on it or something for whatever he was doing.
Yeah.
And
for fun. That
yeah,
was
yeah. I Reader's Digested it, which for the young kids that was a short version of a longer story. And which Reader's Digest is still a thing. I didn't know that. I saw one on the bus the other day.
There you go.
I was just blown away by it, and anytime there was all this stuff going on with Congress and royalty acts, I forget what it's called, but anytime I had a question about that, because that affects all of us, I'd call him and say, hey dude, can you please explain this to me, because it's going way over my head.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, he texted me today. All right, what's your opinion on us playing at the Cactus Theater tonight?
I want to see American Aquarium in a different. I want to see what it looks like in a different spot.
Cool.
I've seen American Aquarium in this room 20 times probably.
And you know what you're going to get.
Yeah. I guess they played outside once or maybe twice.
Yeah.
Out in the front here for a street show. I've seen BJ solo. But like I want to see what it looks like in a different place.
I get that. And a lot of the places that we played on the first leg of this tour were just like the Cactus Theater, and that's becoming more comfortable for us. Well, I mean, it's a different kind of show, and we enjoy that just as much as we enjoy the rowdy shows. But like this is more of a chance for us to really, it's not just balls out rock and roll the whole time. It's balls out, but with more focus. And some guys around here have been giving us flack for that. But Brandon texted me today and was like, dude, I'm really happy that you guys are playing there. It's a great place. It's great. Y'all are going to kill it. And I wish I could be there.
Yeah. And
I was like, man, that's cool. You're one of the only like old school Lubbock guys that has had our back on that.
Well, I mean,
and we got the blue lights blessing before we did it too.
Yeah. Well, also I would say, it's a Sunday night too.
Right.
That's something. Right. There's something to that.
Well, and I mean, it's damn near sold out if it isn't already. So, it obviously isn't that big of a deal to the fans.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do enjoy going and seeing shows at Cactus.
Hell, if McMurtry played there the other day, then I'm totally fine with playing there.
Well, I still, like a great example of somebody playing in two different spots is Wade Bowen. He, of course, he mainly playing like Charlie B's just because of capacity wise, but he's played in here a few times, and it's different than playing in Cactus. And he played one show in Cactus, and it was acoustic, just him.
But that was killer.
Yeah, it was. It was. This is probably like 2 or 3 years ago now, and it was just him and a guitar, no side man, no auxiliary, nothing.
No Randy.
And he was up there just telling stories and playing songs, and Jamie Lynn Wilson had opened up for him, and they had done this little, probably like 3 or 4 show run together. And like after the second night or something like that, Jamie was saying how Wade was like, how do you just do that, like, by yourself up there? You know, you're playing up there for, how do you just consistently do that? I was, you know, terrified going up there, yada, yada, yada. How are you able to do it for so long? And she's like, well, how long do you think you've been playing each night? And he's like, oh, I don't know, about like an hour or so. And she's like, no, you've been like going on 2 hours basically every night. Like, I don't know why you think like, did you think you're going on for an hour? And he's like, yeah. He's like, no, you. And like that show at Cactus, he was up there probably like 2 hours, maybe like 2:15 with the encore.
Really?
And like encore was probably like 4 or 5 songs there. You know,
That's cool.
And he was just, you could tell like it was something he was. It's cool that he was not paying attention to the clock.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And he was just playing a whole bunch of songs, telling a whole lot of stories, and something different than you're gonna see him in other.
Yeah. Well,
ways.
it's like BJ when he started doing his acoustic stuff. He told me it was you're connecting with the audience on such a different level than you have before,
Right.
and it's a big change. Like whenever I started doing acoustic shows again after playing with bands for so long, I felt empty and I felt alone and nervous and like, wow, I really miss hearing a kick drum. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But my sets are completely different than these guys, and they're doing their songs that they've done with bands, but all of a sudden people are really paying attention to what they're actually saying. And through that, you get a deeper connection with the audience than you have with a band show, you know?
Yeah. How does the you guys playing full band? How does the theater show make the I guess like the set list change? Do you guys play? Are you able to play songs that you wouldn't obviously be able to play? In a bar.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. We're able to pull out some deep cuts. This band, like this formation of the band now, we've got 4 hours worth of material that we can do. There's like maybe 2 songs off of Dances for the Lonely that we can't do, or that we just haven't learned. A couple of songs off of Wolves, and I can't remember what there's a very first one that BJ doesn't talk about much that we don't do. But you know, we got the song list for this tour, and there was a lot of deep cuts on there. And because we're not in like rowdy bars where we just have to play the hits and move on, we're able to pull out more of those songs, and that's been really cool to watch this band breathe new life into those songs. You know what I mean? Because there's some really cool stuff that was done on those records that we get to take now and kind of make our own a little bit.
Right. You know, I guess like when the new lineup was announced, and you guys already had like, I don't know how many shows lined up or whatever, but you know,
A lot.
The first one was here, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you guys went off, and then it felt like, or for me at least, I thought it's going to be, you know, a year or so before they get a record out, and it was like 6 months or something, 7 months.
Homeboy had a timeline, and
Yeah.
we stuck to that timeline.
Well, I mean, how, for you as somebody, you know, joining a band, you have this experience of doing a whole lot of, you know, self-producing, producing other artists, all that kind of stuff. You go into this band, you guys record a record, and, you know, Fullbright's producing. Like, what is that like, transitioning back into just being an artist? Like, was there...
It was hard. It was fun. Like, I hadn't done something like that since Six Market.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even that Dolly Shine record we did, Walkabout, I was still producing that.
Right.
This was the first record since 2012 when we did that second Six Market record, Shake It Down. I think that was 2012. Might have been 2014. I can't remember. This is the first one that I was strictly the bass player and that I was going to tour on. And I knew that going in, so when Wes Sharon from 115 Studios, he engineered it, did a fantastic job. I really enjoyed working with him. But he wanted me to sit next to him in the control room, which was right in front of the computer. And I said, man, I don't want to do that. I said, I engineer and produce records all the time, and I don't want to be staring at your computer screen the whole time because that's normally what I would do. I said, I want to be out there with the band, and I don't want to think about what you're doing on that screen. And it took him a little while to agree to that, but I stood strong. I was like, no, man, this is what we're doing. I know it's going to be better for me because I'm not going to be thinking like you guys need to be thinking. I'm going to be thinking as the bass player for American Aquarium.
Right.
And that's what we did. And we recorded at Hanson's place, which was kind of cool. But we banged out that record in like 8 days. Most of it, Wes and John went in and did some overdubs afterwards. But that was the biggest thing for me, was trying to get away from my studio experience and just be the artist. Like, that was very important to me for this record, which I was able to do for my parts. After that, I kind of helped. We all collectively worked on parts together, and I kind of helped the guys communicate what they want with the engineers. My experience was good to be kind of the middleman for that.
Right.
But like I said, my main concern was making sure that while I did my parts, it was solely as the bass player. And that was nice. It felt good to do that. And it feels good to tour on a record that I played on again. You know what I mean? Because even when I did Walkabout, I played 2 or 3 CD release shows, and then I was done. My kids were coming. I had to take a break. So that's been the biggest thing. Is it's the first time in 6 years that I get to tour on a record I played on. And it's a fucking great tour.
Right. That, talking with BJ, he said, a lot of those songs, they just came so quickly after, the reformation of the band, right?
Yeah.
What was it like building those songs? Since it was such a quick.
Oh, it was a whirlwind, dude. They came down to Stephenville, and we did pre-pro at my place for 3 days, I think, and kind of got basic ideas. And then at the end of those 3 days, we drove to Tulsa and started working. Well, Wes and John didn't know that we had just learned the songs. They were kind of like, hey, why don't you guys have, like, parts that we can work with, that we can kind of start? And we were like, well, man, we just learned these songs, too. Like, we only know these songs a little bit better than you guys do. And they were like, oh, okay. And there was some miscommunication where they thought we were just going to come in and bang out the record, and we thought we were going to, everybody collectively come up with parts and ideas and things. And there was a lot of that ended up happening, and a lot of stuff in post that ended up happening that ended up making it a really good record. When we left Tulsa, I was kind of nervous about the record, but by the time it got finished, I was really into it, and I still am. I think it's a strong record, and a lot of, you've seen all the response it's been getting. It's going really well. A lot of the fans have come up to me and been like, man, first time around, I didn't get it. Second time around is now the 10th time around. You know what I mean? And that's cool. Like, you want that sort of feedback.
Right.
Like, because it's different than what Aquarium's done before. But when I rehearse at home, I've got iTunes playlist. It's got, every song, like that 4 hours worth of material on it, and I'll shuffle through it. And if a song from the new record comes on, I think it still fits into the canon of the old records. Like, it doesn't throw me off every time I hear something from Bible in the Bottle next to something from Things Change.
Yeah. The thing I will say about Things Change that it's a lot more country. It's me and BJ talked about, like, that second half feels a little bit more like a traditional country record in a lot of ways than a lot of stuff, especially on those last couple records, like Burn, Flicker, Die and Wolves. Those are a lot more streamlined as far as, like, being rock and roll records. But, like, there's a few songs on here that just feel like old school country.
Oh, yeah. And dude, what's that one tune?
It's the one
I,
that,
I know it is Oklahoma, but it's got a real name.
yeah.
Word Conquers All.
Yeah.
There was some pretty extensive, like Byron Berline played fiddle on it, and there was a lot of fiddle parts, but there was a lot of stuff that wasn't really gelling for us as far as the feel for the song. So we kind of took it out, and I was emailing the Ryan Hewitt, who did the mixing, and I said, man, it feels kind of weird to say this, but like I picked and choose some of the stronger fiddle stuff that wasn't distracting from the other things. And I said, let's keep it in at this timestamp, at this timestamp, at this time. And then I was like, man, we're kind of taking the country out of the country song on the record, but it still works,
Right. Well, also, something that BJ had mentioned was like I guess a lot of times you don't really think about this as far as, making a CD, but since this was also geared for vinyl, you have that flip of the record that makes it feel like an actual flip,
Yeah, that was a very
the sequencing,
very
I guess.
thought out sequence to have it like that. And that was a decision, everybody kind of weighed in on it, and New West weighed in on it, and that seemed like the best way to go. And it is a definitive, this is side A, this is side B. And like you said, there's a feel change between both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of cool, man. And, Aquarium has never really, to me, been we're this. They're one of the few bands that has been able throughout their career to surpass labels and genres and be able to mix it all together and make it work. A lot of industry people won't work with a band like that,
right?
Because they don't know how to. But shit, nobody had to work with this band for a long time because BJ was just doing it all and making it work, saying, hey, you're going to like this shit.
Right. Yeah. It's the, they transcended the label as far as, obviously bigger than anything else in Texas, right? But then, like, they're at the core, like, BJ's a North Carolina guy, right? And, so you have all those fans of different styles, right? Like, he comes from that Ryan Adams, Isbell, Springsteen background,
right?
But then, obviously, like, guys like Felker and Lucero, Nichols, right? It fits here in Texas, Oklahoma, just fine,
and it works really well for him or for us or whatever. I always used to, when I first heard about Aquarium, we'd played like Lone Star Jam or something with them, and I kind of looked into their schedule. So I'd never really listened to a whole lot of their material. Burn Flicker Die was a Six Market band, van jam that we would listen to a lot. But I started looking at their schedule and I was like, man, these guys haven't made. They just come out to Texas for like 2 weeks at a time and then, fuck shit up and go home.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's cool.
Right.
They're not slaves to the scene. But one time, me and Will were out at Melody Mountain one night, and he was like, man, BJ's doing pretty well, just like all over the country, isn't he? I was like, yeah, there's, our crowds are consistently good. He's like, man, that's so great. And I started thinking about it, and, if you looked at a map and tracked, like, Will's career in the early days and American Aquarium's career in the early days, the area that they traveled is probably, like, mileage-wise, probably not that different. Because, we were all staying around Texas, but we were going all over Texas. They were going all over the East Coast, but it's probably about the same distance. It's just it's all considered a different market, whereas in Texas, it's all just one Texas market. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying there.
I haven't tracked it out or anything, but I would assume that the early days were probably mileage-wise pretty similar.
Right. Obviously, you've done a whole lot of producing, engineer work.
Yeah, I'm not as good at the engineer work.
How has that changed, like, since Obviously, you're on the road more now.
Man, the studio's slowed down a lot for now because Josh and them are getting ready to release their new record early next month, right? It's like August 10th. Yeah.
It's like
so
2 weeks.
And they're on a push right now, gearing up for the CD release. We're on our CD release. So we've been doing some singles when we're home, but we're actually, and I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this yet, but we're expanding the studio. We're staying in the same location, but we're building a new building, and so we'll be able to have 2 live rooms. The existing live room could be a drum room or a full band live room. We'll have a new control room. We'll have a lounge with a bathroom and a shower and, all these things that we don't have now, isolation booths. And because of that, we're gearing up for a pretty busy fall. As of right now, I've got dates shopped out through October and hopefully to finish out the year. And so because we're expanding, when we're home, we're both just going nonstop to be able to A, afford the expansion, and B, earn it.
Right.
And that's really exciting for us because we want to be able to offer more to the artists that come to work with us. Because the biggest thing about being in the studio is being comfortable. And we want to make everyone as comfortable as possible. And with these expansions that we're doing, there's no way to not be comfortable. If you're not, then you're in the wrong place and, have a nice day.
Yeah. Well, obviously you guys work with a whole lot of up-and-coming guys. A lot of first, second records, EPs, that kind of stuff. Does that keep you, like, more, I don't want to say, like, does it make you feel like more young working with younger artists? But, like,
Fuck no.
You know what I mean? Does it...
Makes you feel old, man. Makes you feel real
does it
old.
make you... Yeah, but, like, does it make you feel like, you got, like, a sense of where the scene's going, I guess? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, to an extent, it does. I think Josh has a better grasp on that than I do. I think Josh is a lot more connected to what's happening in the scene than I am because he sees a lot more of it than I do, and he has for a while now, like since he's been with Will and I was kind of doing other things. He kind of has a better grasp of that. So I don't let him. That sounded bad. He takes the reins on a lot of things because of that. And that's the way we need to be working, And I've started trying to diversify a little bit. Like I've been building furniture and shit now that, when I'm home, I like to do that too because it gives me a break from working on music constantly. And I'm pretty behind on the bookkeeping for the studio, so I've been doing a lot of that aspect of it. But Josh is he's just so good about keeping up with what's going on around him on the technical aspect and in the scene, and he knows what's going to work and what's not going to work, and he's always been that way. And one of the smartest decisions I've ever made personally was getting into business with that guy, And, it was also one of the hardest things I've had to do, but he's really connected and smart about what he's doing. And I tell people all the time, like, if I'm not going to be there, I'm handling most of the booking for the studio, so I have to make it clear, like, I'm not going to be on some of these sessions. It's going to be you and Josh, and nobody ever really has a problem with that, which is great.
Yeah.
That kid's goofy, man. He called me yesterday, and he had bought this sticker for the bus that he was real proud of. He was in Kansas City, and it said, "Proud as fuck," but it was spelled F-U-K-C. And I didn't get it. I was just like, cool, man. I was on the way to meet my wife for dinner, and I was like, cool, that's great, dude. I'm proud of you, too. And then, like, 3 hours later, I told Shane about it, and he was like, oh, that's funny because he's in Kansas City. I went, oh. I get it now. So I texted him at like 3 a.m. I was like, oh, I finally got that sticker.
What has it been like? Obviously, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but like, what's it like where you're really doing a whole lot more outside of Texas? Like, you're playing in places that are obviously outside of Texas, but also with artists that are non-traditional Texas artists.
I love it, man. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. You know, I cut my teeth here and loved the time that I spent here, but I've always wanted more.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted more with Six Market, and there was a lot of times that I was worried about us getting pigeonholed here. And, you know, to an extent that ended up happening. I don't think it really had the time to flesh out the way I had it pictured in my head.
Right.
But that's something that I've always wanted, was to be able to go out and see these other markets and play these places. And when this opportunity to do that came up, like, the aquarium thing was a perfect fit for me, because when my boys were born, the wife and I made a deal that if a gig came along that was already established, did block touring as opposed to weekend stuff,
Yeah.
and was able to branch out beyond this scene, then we could talk about me playing it. And when I got the offer, I'd originally said no, because the studio was busy, I had my family, and then I went home and I told Lindsay who it was, and she goes, "Hey, dumbass, that's exactly the kind of gig we were talking about. You need to call them back before they call somebody else."
Right. Yeah. You mentioned Corey Brandon. I know,
Yeah.
like, Jamie White's been opening up a few.
Well, she's starting on the next week or something. I don't know much about her.
Yeah. She's California.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited about that. I've toured damn near every state from Utah east. I've never been Nevada, and that's not just touring. Like, I've never been there. I've never been in Arizona, Utah, Washington, Seattle, Washington, the same place. Oregon. That's what I was trying to say. California.
Yeah.
And we're going to do all that. And way back in the day, I made a list of things that I wanted to accomplish through the music business, and it was like Blue Light was one of them. This was a long time ago. It's like, you know, Blue Light, Billy Bob's, Lukenbach, Green, tour Europe, tour the West Coast, tour everywhere. And, you know, I would slowly cross off Green, cross off Europe, cross off all this. But the West Coast was still out there. And then BJ was like, "Yeah, we'll be going to the West Coast in the fall." It's like, oh, fucking finally, now I can quit. No, the late night show was another one of those, and that might be happening soon. I don't know. That's still kind of on the fence, but if it does, I'll be very happy about that.
Yeah.
The other one was to buy a house, which my wife owns the house we live in now, but we found some land that we might buy in the next couple of years, or that we might. If you say might, you're going to fail. That we're going to buy in the next couple of years. And so that's just like a huge... After that, I'm going to have to make a new list.
Yeah.
But then, like, what else is there?
Well, there's all
Bigger
kinds of shit.
bigger rooms, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. At that point, it's like we all tour with our own buses.
Yeah. Shit.
I don't know, shit like that. I don't know.
No, I guess the bigger rooms would be the next
bigger rooms,
logical step.
The late
like,
night thing is
that, man. Be so cool.
It's, you know what's strange is that like Turnpike's never really been on late night.
Huh. I never thought about that.
Only like Austin City, or I mean like only, but Austin City Limits. You know.
Right.
I get. Have you you've not done any like ACL Austin City Limits?
No, I haven't.
That'd be something.
I'll
cool.
put that on my list.
See, I'm helping you out here. Yeah, that would be cool. Austin City Limits. I'm surprised that
it would.
I guess like American Aquarium hasn't done one of those.
I don't think so.
Or BJ solo.
I don't know.
I don't think so. How is like your sonic palette, your music taste expanded since joining the band?
I've started listening to music again, which is cool. For a while, when you work in a studio 8 to 10 hours a day, like the last thing you want to do is listen. Yeah, or like go to a show. Well, that came from like playing shows. You start to get like nitpicky. I'm sure you've heard that before. When you go to a show, or like I ran sound for a long time, so you start to like dissect the mix, and it stops becoming fun.
Yeah.
But like everybody has different tastes, and so you start listening to some of the stuff that they're into, and it gets you, like I was saying about the Hold Steady.
Right.
And like Felucci turning me on to him back in the day, and then now needing something to pump me up while I run, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And then I start, dissecting the lyrics. I'm like, wow, there's some real serious shit going on here. And the production aspect's real cool. But that's my point right there. I stopped listening to music because all of a sudden, like, it turns into work again.
Yeah.
But these guys have made me start listening again and enjoying it. And Corey Brandon was big on that too, like just listening to his songs every night. I was like, man, this guy's got some very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And that was the first time in a long time where I had thought music was interesting again. Mm-hmm. That sounds terrible, doesn't it?
No, I get what you're saying though, because I think more so this year than some other years, it feels like there's just so much coming out.
Yeah.
That for me personally, like I'm listening to a record I may get it early, but I'm listening to it for like 3 weeks, and then like I have to put it away and go on to something else, and that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like it sucks where it's hard to peel back those layers and like really dive into something and trying to see what somebody's trying to say.
Right.
And because I'm a firm believer that you listen to a record 6 months from now, you're going to get something else out of it.
Yeah.
That you didn't see the first time you heard it. And, well, I mean, fuck. Maybe I should have asked that question. You know what I mean? Like, there's like that aspect of
well, that's what 10-year anniversary records are for.
Yeah. There's too many records that I remember when they came out that I know from people that we know now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That are... There's too many records made by people that we know that are coming on 10-year anniversaries.
Oh,
that
Jesus.
I'm
talk about feeling old.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. All those records used to be like, oh, blah, 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 like Ryan Adams. Like I don't know that guy.
Yeah. His
records are 10, 15 years old now.
Right.
And then now it's like, oh, well, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
well, just
I'm
like
sure
I said
like
about that Six Marker record.
Well,
that was 2012.
Yeah.
That was a fucking lifetime ago, man.
Yeah. What's the American Aquarium record that just got reissued on vinyl?
Bible in the Bottle.
Yeah.
That was 10
like,
years ago.
10 year.
All right, I keep checking to make sure I'm not missing sound check.
Oh. What time do you guys have that? Oh. I remember a couple years ago, and this record always to me felt ahead of its time, but Too Far to Care, Old 97s. That came out in 97.
What was on that one?
That's like Time Bomb, Barrier Reef.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like that came out in 97, and they had played like a 15-year anniversary show here at Blue Light. They had done a run. The last night was here, and that's one of those records. I'm like, that's just 15 years old, and now it's probably 20.
Yeah,
and I love those kind of shows where they basically played the entire record in a row, and then they played more songs after, and.
Do you like that? Do you like when a band does the record in a row?
Yeah, actually, I because we don't see it a whole lot at all.
Yeah.
Like, really, we don't see it at all. But I love, like, that kind of shit.
I know a lot of people I talk to are on the fence about that. I think it's kind of cool, as long as you're following it with other songs, too.
Right.
Like, if you're just playing the record start to finish, and then you're like, all right, cool, that's our new record.
Yeah.
Because we did that with Statesboro one time when they're...
Unless the record's like 20 songs long or something.
Yeah, right. What was that record of theirs called that came out when I was playing with them? God, I can't remember, but we played it front to back on the release night, and I was nervous about it because I'd never done that before, and I was like, man, is that an okay thing to do? And it ended up working out great, and then we went back and played, the Huck Finn and all that stuff, and it was a really fun night.
Yeah.
That's actually the night that gave birth to the Copper Chief record. I mean, to an extent, we went back to Seward's house to have a release party after the party, and I was sitting on the back porch with Rio Triviano, and we had a fucking gallon of rum. We were just passing it back and forth, and he's like, "I want to make a solo record," and I said, "Dude, come to Stephenville. Josh and I will take care of you. We'll get it knocked out in a couple of days. It'll be fucking awesome." And he goes, "All right." And I thought it was just drunk talk at first. And shortly after that, I get married. And we scheduled the studio time. And I told Josh, like, "Hey, I'm going to be on my honeymoon for the first week of this, second week of this, I'll come in." He goes, "All right, cool." And it starts, and he's like, he emails me. He's like, "This Copper Chief band is badass." I said, "Who the fuck is Copper Chief?" And he goes, "It's Rio and them." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, dude, it's like he's got a 4-piece band in here. Him and this other guy are switching off on lead vocals, and it's like a 15-track record." And I was like, "Dude, that is not the deal we made, Rio." Because I cut him a pretty good deal, Rio's a buddy.
Yeah.
And I thought we were throwing him a bone, and then he comes in with this full-on, have you heard that record?
Yeah,
I
have,
sent you some stuff
Yeah.
from that when we were doing it. And I was like, "Holy shit, Rio, this is not the deal we made, but it's good. Let's go with it." That whole process for that record was a lot of fun because, I was newly married, so I was minding my P's and Q's. I'd work all day and go home to the wife and all that shit, and they would go out and just party balls all night long. And they would record, too. So I would come in 9, 10 o'clock the next morning, fresh, and I'd let them sleep. They all slept on the floor and on this little shitty couch we had. I'd let them sleep for about an hour while I went through everything that they'd done the night before, and I'd make notes and say, "Okay, this works, this is shit, this could work if we get a better take of it," that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then around 11, 12, I'd wake them up and say, "Hey, guys, I've got my notes. Let's get back to work." And they just up and at 'em and start laying shit down, man. And we did that for 2 weeks or so. And then they had to go back home and, play some shows and whatnot. And then by the time they came back to finish it, we'd moved from the trailer house we were in out to Melody Mountains. So we finished the last of it over there. But the whole process, like working with them and getting to know them, was just a lot of fun. And it was neat that they had that opportunity to go out with Josh and party and then come back and really flesh out these somewhat ridiculous ideas in some spots. And then I would come in and just kind of, clean everything up for them a little bit.
Right. Odd couple.
What's that?
Odd couple style.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why Josh and I have always worked so well, is because, we feed off each other in that way. Like his strengths are my weakness and vice versa. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a really good team. And now the last record we actually got to work on together, like in the same room at the same time, was Zach McGinn, his new solo record.
Mm-hmm.
And that shit is cool. It's these songs that he's written for this record I've known Zach for well over a decade, and I've written with him. I've heard everything he's ever done, and this is the best material he's put together.
Yeah.
Very excited about it. We're still working. He wrote 2 more songs that he was like, "Man, I want to keep adding to the record," and everything else has been so good that it's just like, yeah, okay, let's see what you got,
Right.
So
That's exciting to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know
don't know when it'll be done.
I guess he had posted a few or like Instagram videos.
Yeah.
With some of the songs. I'm really interested to see what happens with that.
I am too, and I think he is too, because when he first started it, it was just something that he wanted to do for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, this is something I've always wanted to do. Like even with Dolly Shine, he's like, I still wanted to make a solo record, because he ran Dolly Shine pretty diplomatically, where like everybody had their voice in the songs, and he felt like he sacrificed some of his voice for that. which a lot of guys do when you're in a band situation like that.
Right.
And so he's always wanted to make something that was just him. And it was really exciting to do that with him.
Yeah.
And to just sit down and say, what do you want here? Or we're thinking this, what do you think? And really get to watch him flesh out his own ideas. And it's come together very well. There was a song that him and Brandon wrote together. I was telling the guys about this last night that had a line in it that I just did not like. And, you know, Brandon and Zach are two of my favorite songwriters. And I called Brandon immediately. I stopped the take. I was like, hold on. I said, Zach, come in here. So I called Brandon. I put him on speakerphone. I said, dude, what is this? You guys are better than this. Come on. And he goes, well, fuck, if you're so good, then fix it. So I did. No, I called it, like, we all sat there, and Brandon was like, yeah, do whatever you want. So Zach and I sat there and kind of restructured that part. And then, you know, we immediately called Brandon and said, okay, how's this? Does this work for you? And he was on board with it. So, it ended up shaping out nicely.
Yeah. He had opened up a show for, it was like CD release for Ross Cooper's record.
Yeah.
Zach had played up here. We talked a little bit about what was his plans for that record. I'm excited to hear what's in store, because I like you said, I think everyone always wants to at least do that one record where they make all the decisions.
Yeah,
if you
right,
will,
right.
Because you don't ever. It's one of those you never know unless you do it.
Yeah, I tell you, that was another cool thing about working with BJ in the studio, was he was very adamant that we. He's like, y'all can do whatever you want musically, whatever feels right to y'all, as long as it doesn't change my melodies.
Mm-hmm.
He said, that's, my songs are my songs, but the music is you guys. So do whatever you want, just don't fuck with my melodies. And we're like, all right, yeah, we can do that. So that was a really cool aspect of making this record with him. And if he didn't like something, he would speak up about it. But for the most part, he was very much just do what you guys want to do. And, I got a lot of respect for that.
Yeah. Going back to the whole playing a record in a row, things changed. Feel like you guys could do that. Just like play the record.
I think you're right. I think we could. I think because of the whole side A, side B, the diversity between the two, I think it would work.
Yeah.
I don't think we will. But
What's the, if you could see any band do that, what record would it be?
I don't know if this is like a technical thing or just something I would want to see. But I'd love to watch Mercury do Where'd You Hide the Body, start front to back. But that's kind of just one of my all-time favorite records. Or if we're doing like Living or Dead, the band do the Brown album. I'd like to see that front to back.
Yeah, that'd be.
What about for you?
I don't know.
It's a hard question, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd seen Terry Allen do Lubbock on Everything.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's just kind of, and what makes that obviously not necessarily more special, but that's 21 songs.
Yeah.
And so there's something to that. I love the idea of seeing somebody take on like their opus.
Right.
Springsteen does he'll do a few shows where he does like Darkness all in a row.
That would be a good one to see too.
Nebraska.
It's a killer record.
Born
I
to
know what it
Run.
would be. Tom Petty doing Echo, because he never plays those songs live.
Mm-hmm.
That was like I guess he can, but that was a dark period in his life. So he would. I think there was one. I read this story. I don't know if it's true or not, but like Gwyneth Paltrow was at a show and she loved one of the songs off Echo, and he played it for her. But that was like the only time he would play one of those songs. So that, seeing him do that at like the Continental Club would be really cool.
Yeah. But see, also like there's records where, for example, like let's say like old Number One by Guy Clark. I think all those songs are great, and I would have loved to see Guy Clark play all those songs, but I don't necessarily think it would matter seeing them in a row.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like some of those,
but with
get
something
kicked
like
off.
Echo, like it's more or less a concept record.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
it would it would fall into place. You know,
I would say, I don't know, like Southeastern by Isbell would be pretty cool all in a row.
Dude, one night I was partying with the Dead Ringers, and Sean Fair, the guitar player, and other like the Not Johnny Burke guy, he did the entire Red-Headed Stranger record, front to back, just by himself. We were just sitting there with a handle of Jim Beam, and I was just sitting there floored the entire time. I was like, wow, this is really cool. It's been going on for a long time, but it's really cool. Man,
Yeah.
I loved the Dead Ringers. When I played with Johnny, I did like 9 months or so with him.
Mm-hmm.
So excited to play some of those songs. There's a lot of those, like that Sideman Blues. I've learned all those John Michael Chef parts when I was learning how to play bass,
Right.
So that was exciting for me.
Yeah. Did you ever get into the war on drugs?
No, I haven't extensively. That's
Yeah.
been a van jam that a lot of the guys, BJ and Shane, are heavy into them. And
Lost
so
in a Dream, I would say, would be a fucking record. I'd
Yeah.
like to see that.
I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, that was that's, like every once in a while there's a record that'll come out that you go, oh fuck, this is gonna be in my top 10 forever.
Right.
And that was one of those ones where it came out the first time I heard the first single, which was Red Eyes. I was like, oh shit, what? This is gonna be something cool, and it became like the record I was like most anticipating, right?
Yeah.
And it comes out, and I was just like, okay. I told some of my friends like, this is gonna be like in my top 10
Yeah,
records all
this
time.
is the one that I
And
show
they're
my
like,
kids.
Nah, whatever, And then one of my buddies listened to it, and he was like, I thought you were being dramatic about, saying that. And I listened to it, and it's like, holy fuck, no, this is actually that good,
Right.
But
I'll tell Shane to play it for me.
yeah, I know he was a big fan of the record.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. It just, what's strange is, and I was telling Jordan King last night, he's Atlanta's.
Oh,
Aquarium,
right.
We Lost in a Dream came out like 3 or 4 years ago, and you can already see albums being released that are like highly influenced by that record.
That's cool.
And it's
And
such
that's got to feel good to them too, to like.
Right. There's this strange, or not strange. I don't know if it's necessarily strange, but like there's a lot of Americana records that are coming out that kind of have that shimmer and shine
Yeah.
to it that I feel is a direct response to.
To that record.
Yeah.
Man,
But-
having that sort of impact on somebody, on other artists, is such a cool thing to see.
Mhm.
Unless it's contrived.
Right.
You know what I mean? Unless somebody's like doing it because that guy did it. Like we get a lot of these younger kids that want to sound like a certain guy that's being and they'll say, I want that. And it's like, man, why don't you want your own voice?
Right. Well, something that I've always said is that, like especially in Texas country, there for a while, everyone was doing like an impression of Robert Earl Keen,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And I've always said like the lineage was like Jerry Jeff Walker, Robert Earl Keen, like those guys are not the technical great singers, right?
Right.
But they have like a distinct style.
Right.
And then you saw like Pat Green kind of trying to do the same thing, and then you hit like with Randy Rogers, and like you would say those four all sound away because like that's just how they sound.
Yeah.
But then after like Randy came out, you saw all these guys doing their impression of like that,
Right.
and it just becomes this
exactly.
like weird,
And that happens with every, like it happened with Abbott.
right? Yeah,
There was a lot of guys doing this, and it's like, man, just because that worked for him doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
yeah,
There's a whole lot of, all right, dude, so I'm reading this, the Outliers, not Malcolm McDowell.
Gladwell,
Gladwell.
Yeah.
That's it. Malcolm McDowell. And, he talks about successful people, but all the factors as to why they're successful. And with guys, especially guys like Abbott, it's not his sound that makes him successful. It's the work ethic. It's all these different factors.
right?
So you can't go into the studio and say, I want to sound like that because it's working for that guy. Well, there's so many other things that are going into that.
yeah,
And a lot of people don't realize that, I think.
yeah,
And that's a fascinating book. I'm like 10 years late on this book.
Yeah.
You know,
Gladwell, he's one of my favorite dudes.
yeah.
as far
Pigs and
as-
I were talking about him the other day because he was, what are you reading? And he said he's got another book called Tipping Point that's really good.
Well, you need to listen to his podcast if you
Oh,
haven't.
he's got a podcast?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's also been a guest on a bunch of podcasts that just different ones, but like ones
Yeah.
I've really listened to have been with Bill Simmons. He's been a guest on his.
Okay.
And he
And I've been listening to the MFCEO project lately. Have you heard that podcast? Dude, it's entrepreneurial based mentorship podcast.
okay.
And the guy is he's got me all fired up about business, man.
Well, see, like the reason like I love the Gladwell stuff that I've been listening to is or the stuff with Bill Simmons mainly has been about sports.
Yeah.
And of course, like, it's always these different viewpoints on sports, right? I don't want to say like the outsider view because like Gladwell is a sports fan. So,
Yeah.
But so it's not necessarily like an outsider view of like him if you just showed somebody basketball for the first time, right? So it's not that. But he always has like that kind of view of it. Like, what if it's like this? You know,
Right.
I can't think of an example, but you know what I'm saying. Another great guy. He's not like the statistician, if you will, that Gladwell is. He's not like the business aspect or like the
Yeah.
economist aspect of any of that. But Chuck Klosterman.
I've heard of him.
He's more of like a pop culture writer,
Yeah.
journalist guy. But like he always has fresh, interesting takes. He's got some books that you probably would enjoy reading because they're all about music and
Yeah. And
just
I
pop
like that.
culture.
I like when people take something like that, like sports or music, but then look at more of the like sociological aspects of
Right.
it. You know what I mean? And how it's really affecting society in different facets, as opposed to just looking at it as like, oh, sports are fun, music is entertaining,
right.
or emotional or whatever. It goes so much beyond that to, you know, time and place things and group thought and all of that stuff.
Right. Well, like one of my favorite things about as a kid, I loved basketball more than anything
Yeah.
else, and I was like really into the stats, right? And like I loved, you know, watching game to game aspects and like loved the storyline of the game itself,
Right.
And to an extent, I loved the storyline of the game for football and like baseball games, right? But as I've gotten older, the individual game has meaned less, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it's been more. What I love about sports now is the storyline of the soap opera around the sport, right? And then I love, in the strange way, the analytical side of like all the stats, like
Yeah.
the super stats now, though,
Right.
like all the tracking and because I find that in it fascinating too.
Did you
And
ever? Did you play any of the video games, the sports video games?
Yeah.
I remember one year I watched a buddy of mine playing a game, and he never played the games. He just went through and did like the
Like the-
that aspect of
like,
like
the franchise kind
yeah.
of, yeah.
Yeah, but like he never sat there and played an actual baseball game, and like that blew my fucking mind, man. But I think that was a turning point for maybe it was an age thing or I don't know, but like it started
Right.
getting people into that side of into what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Because like that's the thing is where with basketball now, like I'm a big Mavericks fan. I'll watch. There was some seasons I watched every regular season game, every playoff game. Now I'm like around like 70 games probably
Yeah.
a season.
Well, there's just so many.
There's a bunch, but like what I love more is the storyline, the arc of the season.
Right.
Like I'm like basketball right now is not being played. We're in the off season, but I'm still listening to podcasts about basketball.
Man, I had this buddy in college that I used to smoke weed with, and I've never really been into sports that much, but he was a big college basketball fan, and so I'd go over to his house, and I remember one night we got high and watched this basketball game, and it was the second basketball game I'd seen all the way through. The first one was before a Pat Green concert at Reunion Arena when I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and I just watched the game because I was there for the concert. But this one, like, I was high and I was just sitting there and I was like, oh my God, it was fast paced and like turnovers and all this. I was like, this is the most fascinating thing I've ever seen. And I look at the guy like I hadn't said anything in a while, and I just went, dude, what else am I missing out on?
That's funny. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of the college game. But
yeah, a lot of that stuff is also on me. But like you said, the keeping up with it in the off season, that's funny. That's just like,
yeah.
because it's just such a different kind of fan. It's a different kind. Like you said, it's like watching a show. It's like a series of that you're just so invested in.
Right. And I know a lot of people, when it comes to basketball in like specifically, like the NBA, there's a lot of transactions. There's a lot of like free agency moves.
Right.
And
so everybody's got an opinion on that.
Everyone's moving. Yeah. And it's this, what's weird now is that I think it's a better game with players having more say on where they're wanting to play, where they're wanting to go, right?
I mean,
and
that makes sense. They should have some say
like,
in that.
This guy's not fucking loyal. Right? Yada, yada. And it's like, dude, like the best example of it is obviously LeBron leaving the Cavs too.
Yeah.
Everyone knew about that.
Even I knew about that.
That guy is a fucking traitor, right? It's like, dude, he's making a decision on where he wants to live.
What?
Let's imagine you having that situation. If you were drafted by whatever company you work for and they just had your rights for 10 years.
Yeah.
And like once you decided to leave the company.
These guys, like the lifespan of a professional athlete is short.
So much more, yeah. So much
they should be able to have some sort of say in that because it's their lives and it's the prime of their lives at that, But that's the thing. A lot of people take the personal aspect out of celebrity.
Right.
And then I think that's a problem with our society. And it's like these people are still people.
Right.
And they still have their own personal goals and their own personal wants. And despite what they do, they should be able to achieve those just like the rest of us.
Yeah. When Durant left Oklahoma City to go to Golden State, there's still people who are like, fucking snake. And I'm like, dude, he gave Oklahoma City nearly a decade to like win a championship. So like,
and like gave, just like I'm saying, gave that franchise 10 years of his life.
And Oklahoma City, like I'm sympathetic towards the Thunder. I do like Russ, but sometimes the fans for Oklahoma, I'm just like, calm down, guys. You guys also stole a team too. Like Thunder used to be the Seattle Supersonics. So like, what about that loyalty to Seattle, huh?
Yeah,
I would not be like throwing so many stones, is what I'm saying.
Well, it's like with bands too. It's the same thing. It's like, man, if you're in a band for 10 years and it's not working, and you decide to do something else, and your fans get pissed, it's like, well, I tried for 10 years.
Right.
Now I'm gonna try something else.
Yeah.
It should only be fair.
With band, I think like the reason why I've been more lenient on sports is because of the band aspect, honestly. It's because like a good band doesn't last. How many bands last forever, right? No, not one band lasts forever, right? Unless you're, I guess, Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
But they'll play until, I don't know. They're not dead. Like they're going to be.
I'm not convinced that Charlie Watts isn't dead already.
They just prop
and
him up.
they just shoot electricity into his body when he plays.
Yeah.
No, shit. Look at me.
Every band, like, it disappears at some point. And sometimes it's good that a band stops.
Yeah.
Whenever they stop, So
it's better.
That's how I've kind of viewed a lot more sports, but
It's interesting.
yeah.
It's a funny comparison to me, but like I said, I've never really been into sports. I tried when I was younger because my friends were into it, but I wasn't good at it, so I didn't like it.
Yeah. That's surprising. Like, people don't like what they're not good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but hey, you want to go get a Topo Chico?
Yeah.